Alright, what's going on, y'all? My name is Cecil Harvey. I really wanted to go over Shiranui. Okay, I mean, it's 2024. This deck hasn't seen play in God knows how long. I know a lot of people have tried different things to kind of get this deck to spark. I haven't seen anything recent. I kind of wanted to put out my deck. I've had a lot of success with it. Is it a great deck? Not that great. Does it have a lot of support? Old support. It definitely needs some new cards. It needs some new blood. But there is some newer things that we can throw in this deck to kind of make it a little bit more feasible. I'll just start right at the beginning. I mean, obviously, Glow Up Bloom is going to be great for getting your Doom King Baldarok on the field. Also works good with your Changshi and the Changshi. As long as you have Zombie World on the field. As you can see that I don't run more than two. I feel like, again, it breaks the deck if you have too many. I'm also running the Dragon's Ravine for a little combo um, with the Destrudo and the Blaster Dragon Ruler. I definitely want these cards in the graveyard so I can get both of their effects. He's great to banish some of the fire zombies so I can get their effects, whether that be an extra draw with the Shiranui Squire. If I have something already banished, I can get it back on the field and it can activate its effect. So if I have like a banished Synchro, or if I just want to get this out so I can use it for Synchro, great. The only thing is if you have multiple of these banished, you banish another one, you're not going to be able to activate its effect. So this card's great, but this card works great with the Shiranui style Swallow Slash. Am I saying that right? Swallows Slash. Just so you can get an extra target on the field to destroy. But keep in mind that it does have to be face up, and if you're the one if you're the one that activates, he doesn't have nothing face up, then you've kind of wasted the card. Excuse me, you've kind of wasted the card. All right. Shiranui Spectral Sword, great card if it's in the graveyard. Again, it's just got that old meta where it needs to be in there for a turn. If you can get it in your graveyard on your opponent's turn, whether that be activating like a super poly or if you did it on your turn one, then you're kind of golden going into the next turn. It's just an extra activation you can do. If they have 5 or 6 activations that they get, this could be one of the ones that maybe they can't negate because it's in the graveyard, except by maybe like a Called by the Grave, or even something like I think Ghost Bell may or may not be able to negate it. I don't think it can. But it says, yeah, banish cards. Yeah, so I wouldn't even be able to activate with that as well. So it is just an extra card. I play one Mad Mauler. It works really good with cards like the Changshi. You could throw that to the graveyard and you have an extra body if you want to do like a link summon, so you have an extra zombie, or even if you want to go into like a level 6 or a level 8, depending on what you have on the field. It works really good with that. The Assault Synchrons work great as an extra body to get on the field. You usually want to activate this as like the first thing in your turn, just in case you accidentally get yourself locked into zombies. You won't be able to play this guy. The good thing about cards like Shiranui Squire, though it does lock you into zombies, it says for the rest of the turn, which means that before you play this card, if you play all your non-engine or non-zombie cards, then you play him, then you're not locked into it until after you play the Shiranui Squire. However, if this is what starts your turn, then you might as well just, if you have that non-engine stuff's not going to work unless it's a zombie card. So like the dragon cards like these, or even some of the synchro cards like Baron. Like I said, I don't have very many. I think I only have like Baron as one of the synchros, but everything else is pretty much zombie. And I'm actually looking to maybe move Baron out of the deck. I really want to keep it just zombie in the deck, but needless to say, I do run a couple of hand traps. Three, there's really just no room for hand traps in this deck. It just breaks the deck up so much, especially if you're going first and you draw into 3 Ash Blossoms or Maxis, or it just really not fun to have that in your hand because it does take 2 or 3 cards to kind of get this deck cooking. Okay, I, I think Zombie is one of the greatest, if not the greatest, zombie card in the deck. However, I just can't run any more than this because if you draw into him and you only have him, there's really nothing you can do. You have to sacrifice your normal summon to get him on the field. Him alone really doesn't dictate what the deck can do. You really kind of want to draw more into a Shiranui Solitaire. That way, if you use him to get Zombie on the field, you can throw Kazuki in the graveyard to get maybe a special summon from your hand. And there's just a couple other plays, but I feel like this by itself, unless you're holding cards in your hand that activate effects like Glow Bloom in your hand, or even like Necro World Banshee, you're really just going to be having a not great time. So I think one of him is good. There's other ways to get to him. There's other ways to get the combo off without using Zombie, i.e. things like Assault Synchron. I only run Shiranui Spectral Sword at 1. I feel like it has great potential. You don't want it too much in your starting hand. You kind of want to either draw into it later when you have stuff that's already banished. Or if you get, a Shiranui Solitaire, can definitely get them on the field, and you can activate the effect to bring banished cards back. It definitely has a great potential to it. Is it the greatest card? No. Does it deserve to be in the deck? Absolutely. Revolution Synchron, I think it's great because you don't have to waste another summon to get him on the field to activate his effect. You're using him, and I actually haven't put it in the deck yet, but you're using him to get out ancient. Let me see here if I can just do that real quick. Boop, and nope. Boop, boop, and boop. I was making this deck while I'm doing the video, so you want to use it to bring out Ancient Fairy Dragon. Ancient Fairy Dragon's great because it allows you to perform an extra normal or special summon a monster from your hand, which is great because it gets you another body on the field. You usually want to do this on your turn 1 because it does stop you from activating your battle phase. But the biggest kicker with this is it gets you into the zombie world. So how the combo goes is if you have Dragon Ravine in your hand, you play Dragon Ravine, you send a card from your hand to the graveyard. Luckily, it doesn't have to be monster. It could be anything in your hand. Then you normal summon, and the card that you want to send with the Dragon's Ravine is either the Blaster Dragon Ruler of Inferno or the Destrudo of the Lost Dragons. Now, Destrudo is the card that you want to play to get the level 7 Synchro. With a card like this or even this. So there's about 10 cards that you can use it with. But that allows you to go right into the Ancient Fairy Dragon, and then you could destroy this to get the Zombie World, and now you have Zombie World on the field, an extra summon, and you have some plays, okay? So that's the little engine I threw in there with the Dragon's Ravine. I feel like nobody really expects that. I was actually using it in a different deck, and I was like, why couldn't I use it with the Zombie World? So that is why this card is in the deck. The other card that I was running initially, but I don't know if I want to put it in because it does take up an extra space in the deck, is the Crystal Wing Synchron Dragon. It's a level 8. It does work good with the Assault Synchron, because what you ultimately can do is you can get out the Ancient Fairy Dragon, then you could bring this card back, and then use this to go into your Crystal Wing Synchro Dragon. It's a wind. They can't really super poly it if you have zombie and dragon because it's not a fire or dark, and it's not anything that can do about it other than destroy it. So it does have a nice monster negate, which is great, but it does take up space in the extra deck, and if you already kind of tie yourself into zombie cards, then you're kind of SOL. So it's hit or miss with this card. I don't think it's worth, for me personally, putting it in the deck. All right. Definitely 2 Mizukis. You can run 3 if you want to put more cards in the deck. Ultimately, the goal is to get these cards out, but Mizuki's great because you can just banish it and get a zombie. It's pretty much a monster reborn from your graveyard, which is amazing. Definitely one of the best cards in the deck. Can be a brick if you draw into it because you have to get it into the graveyard, but that's why we play things like Dragon's Ravine and Super Poly and things that discard so that you can get this in the graveyard easy. We run 1 Shiranui Spirit Master. Not that great to summon, although again it has to be normal summoned. That's the one thing that Shiranuis kind of fall out of meta with, is they have to be normal summoned except for the Solitaire. But things like Squire and Spirit Master, they have great effects in the banish pile. So these are the cards you want to use with cards like Shiranui style Swallow. target 2 cards on the field, and then if you use Spirit Master's effect, you get an additional target that's at least face up. So you can knock off 3 cards on the field if you so wish. Um, the other good thing about this too is if you start with this and this card, you can actually summon him first. It doesn't proc any sort of maxi, I'm not sorry, maxi Ash Blossom, though it does proc like infinite impermanence. But if you get this guy out, you can actually banish him as your tribute for the Shiranui Solitaire, and then kind of go into the combo that way. And then if you're able to, you can actually get a card banished before you actually get him off the field, and it actually gets you Spirit Master back onto the field, which is kind of a nice little combo if you're able to pull it off. Um, I will say this just so I don't forget, because my brain's a little ADD, but the reason that I play this deck is I love that it's not so cookie cutter. You really have to think about every aspect of your play because every single duel is different. You really don't have like a set combo. That's why I'm going through each card individually. But it is such a fun deck to play and just think like, how can I cook this dude? And every recipe is different. You only need 1 Gazuki. I wouldn't suggest running any more than that. Again, they could be bricks because you have to normal summon them. I mean, you don't have to normal summon them, but to get them on the field, normally you would be normal summoning something. But he definitely has the Foolish Burial effect. You can send away cards like Banshee. You could send away cards like Glow Up Bloom. Pretty much any zombie card that you want to send away, even if you have, let's just say, this in your hand and you want to throw a fire monster away. It really does have a great effect to it, but it does have to be a zombie card, so you can't throw away things like Destrudo, okay? I do run 1 Necro World Banshee. I really didn't want the deck to be so zombie world. I wanted it to have splashes of zombie support, but ultimately I'm trying to play the Shiranui deck, which is why I try to run as much Shiranui as I can to kind of make it competitive, but not enough to where it just breaks up my hand and I'm just kind of just wishing for the duel to be over because this guy is just destroying me, especially when you get to higher ranks. Shiranui Squire, I run 2. I wish I could run 3 of this, but it just, again, falls into that stupid meta where it has to be normal summon. If there was more ways to like normal summon, things like Time Tearing Morganite are great, but there are things that you can't, they're not very searchable and you have to draw them, and it also takes away your hand traps, so you can't activate stuff from the hand anymore. So that's why I don't play Time Tearing Morganite, just because it's too slow. Does give you the extra draw, but the duel's going on 5 to 10 turns. I'll play 3 Time Tearing Morganites, but if it's going on for maybe a second, maybe a third turn, definitely not worth it. But if you start with this, the goal of this is to get Shiranui Squire into the Spectral Sword. Not only does this get you the initial synchro, but it does get you the Spectral Sword in the graveyard for the next turn, or for your next turn, I should say. Which is great that you have another like graveyard effect to activate, which is what makes zombies so fun, is that you can activate from your graveyard, and there's really, I mean, Call by the Grave's kind of sucky, but there's really not other much they can do that because they're fire monsters. They can't beast steal you. Needless to say, but yeah, so I really love the aspect of just having the graveyard to come back to on your turn, especially if you're not holding very many cards in your hand. It's like you have those hidden, if they don't know the deck very well, those hidden hand cards that they're not aware of. So Shiranui Squire, great at 2, but I wouldn't play any more than that, just because it locks you into zombie monsters and you have to waste your normal summon to get its effect. The Chengshi, definitely only play 1 of. It's a level 6. Playing anything where you have to tribute summon for it is really tough in this deck because it's tough to get bodies on the field. Excuse me. But Chengshi is such a great card because it has so much versatility. As long as this card gets on the field, then you have a Foolish Burial. Then you have a special summon of the card if you're able to get it banished, which is so easy in this deck. Cards like Shiranui Shogun Saga, probably one of the best ways. You send, the level 6 and like a level 2, and you get him out. Then you banish the Chengshi, comes back to the field as another body. The good thing too, I guess, when it goes back to the graveyard, it goes right back into the deck. So it's like you're putting more monsters back in your deck, and it doesn't give it the opportunity to be bestialed or whatever because it is a dark. I think this is probably one of my favorite cards in the deck. It also works really good with cards like Gold Sarcophagus because as long as you have a zombie monster in your graveyard, you can play this from your hand, and this gives you a free summon. He gets banished, you banish another card from your graveyard, bring him out to the field. Not to mention, does the banish effect. If you banish any of your Shiranui cards, they're going to have an additional effect when they get banished. Blaster, same thing. It's fire support. It's great because you can target a card on the field to destroy it if you don't want to summon it, or if you just want to get like an extra body and send away some cards. A good combo is if you have like Solitaire and like one of the other Shiranui cards, it gets you a free Shiranui summon, which I think is really cool. And that's why we play both the 8, 9, and level 10. Because if we can get, let's just say Spectral Sword, or if we can get the Shiranui Shade, then you can get into like a level 10 or a level 9. Destrudo is kind of the combo piece I was talking about before with the Dragon's Ravine. It really does have like a cool little extra engine in it that kind of people don't expect when they see that. Half the time when you activate Dragon's Ravine first, people think you're playing like a Dragon Link deck and just surrender anyways, which is fun. But if you really enjoy play Yu-Gi-Oh, seeing somebody play some extra spice in the deck, this is kind of what you're looking at. Doom King Balderrock, I've seen I've seen people play 2 of them. I played just the one. I think he's a great card to have on the field. He really is a nuisance if they don't have any like called by the grave to out him, because he comes back to the field every turn if you have your field spell or they have a field spell. Doesn't even have to be Zombie World, just a field spell in general. And I think he works really great with cards like Vampire Sucker for the extra draw on your opponent's turn, allowing you to maybe draw into like a hand trap or something of use for your following turn if you have enough negation on the field. Other than that, he's a good synchron piece too. You can synchro him out. You can use him with cards like Mad Mauler to get him lower, so you can get a level 8 out or a level 10. Oh, he's really great. Algol is really good as well. He works good when he's in the graveyard, so sometimes if I have like a full field, I'll use cards like Chengshi to send Algol to the graveyard, so that when my turn comes around, if they try to Regeki me or Lightning Storm or attack my monsters, I have that way of getting him to the field and keeping my monsters alive at least for one extra attack or one extra spell card. Some people don't even expect it. And it gets you another body on the field. So the other thing too is if he's banished, which I love, he actually comes back to the field. So if you use cards like Shiranui Shogun Saga and you banish him, he'll come back and he's an extra body that you can use for link material, synchro material. And if you send him back to the graveyard, then you can use his effect again on your opponent's turn. So it's every turn he gets that effect, which is really awesome. Foolish Burial, I mean, obviously a lot of the cards in the deck already do that. Having the extra magic card to do it is just so good. You can actually bait people by playing this first because nobody knows what you're playing. So you could probably get their Ash Blossom and then go into combo. The Gold Sarcophagus is great for cards like the Chengshi, which we went over. And it also is a nice toolbox to any of your Shiranui effects, which I really like personally. So I think this card is good. Do you need 2 of them now that it's 2? No, but it is a great card to draw into on like first turn if you want to get an extra draw, or if you want to discard a card to the graveyard and stuff like that, or if you have cards banished already, you can use the Solitaire. So very cool stuff. I was running this at 3. I think this card is so freaking expensive. Just having 3 of these is just ridiculous. Is it a great card to draw into? It can be, but if you're holding 2 Assault Synchrons and then you have a tuning card in your hand, probably not that great. I don't think you need to run 3 of these. I brought it down to 1 just to lower the amount of cards in the deck, because I'm only playing 3 of the Synchron Assault and the Revolution. I think 1's fine. Normally half the time I draw on them anyways, so I didn't want to break my deck up with too many of these. The other thing that I do like about this particularly is that it does send a card from the top of the deck to the graveyard, but you do run the risk of milling something that you don't want to go there, i.e. things like Palmerization, Rivalry of the Warlord, or even like a Shiranui Swallow. So it is good, but beware at your own risk. One of the other spicy cards that I play in the deck is the Mayakashi Return. Mayakashi Return is great because I'm looking to get this into my hand as soon as possible. especially if you get it on your turn one. Playing this at the beginning of their turn is just brutal if they're playing a card that is based on special summoning. And I would say 99.9% of all the meta decks are based on that. I think the only thing that stops this from playing is things like Super Poly. If they're able to Super Poly you before you're able to tribute your card off, then you're just kind of SOL. But a lot of people don't usually draw into it that often. Most of the time the people playing too. It hasn't happened to me yet, but that's the one card that I've seen. Excuse me, geez, alone that was able to stop it. So this card is great. The other aspect of this is you don't have to add it to the hand. If you're already holding this card in your hand, you could send it to the graveyard if you don't have any way of accessing it. Having this card in the graveyard has an additional effect. You can banish this to grab one of your banished monsters to put it back in the graveyard. Cards like Mizuki, it works really well with. Mad Mauler, if somebody banishes out your Doom King Baldarok, you can get it back into the graveyard so that the following turn it can activate its effect to get back to the field, with the exception of them destroying your field spell, or if they called by the grave, then you have to wait an additional turn. But it definitely has its play and its effectiveness. I really love this card at 3, just because it's such an amazing card, and I don't think you ultimately can't run it without 3 to get it a little bit more consistent. Zombie World at 2, you don't really need any more than that. Again, if you already have one on the field and then you have the Necro Banshee and then you draw into another Zombie World, you're really going to be hating life because you just don't need that much Zombie World. I have run into one duel where I kind of wished I had that third Zombie World to summon, but because there's really no way to get it back from the graveyard into your deck, at least I'm not playing anything that does that. So if you use up both your Zombie Worlds and they're able to destroy them both, then you're really just kind of on a different mission to end the duel, whether that be just straight Shiranui, which is a lot of the aspect why I don't run so many, because I don't want the deck to be so Zombie World. I want it to be Shiranui with splashes of other zombie support. Dragon Ravine, we already went over it. Super Poly is definitely a turn 2 card, or even like a turn 4, turn 5. It is a great card to draw into if they have a full field. Even if you have like cards like Zombie World on the field, you can bring out the Dragon Necro Nether Soul Dragon. Makes this card so good with this card because you can pretty much tribute anything. The other thing, I guess, that it works well with, I both run Mud Dragon and I run Garuru. So if they're playing like a card like Starry Dragon, where it's just light dragons, or if they're playing things like a mixed bed of like Winged Beast, like a Floanderies or something like that, where they have different, the same attribute but different types, then that's really just the way to go. So I think I hit kind of everything with Super Poly. It's a great card to draw. Called by the Grave is you really want to keep them from hand trapping you so dang much. It's also good if they play cards that go into the graveyard to activate their effect. Raid Raptor is another one of those decks that does that. I can go down the list, but there's a lot of cards that this Called by the Grave works good for. I wish it was at 3. Shiranui style Swallow, I used to run at 3, and I used to run Trap Trick, which is just one of those trap cards to kind of help keep these cards consistent. I think 2 is good. You don't really need to run any more than that, otherwise you'll just brick up your hand, because if you do not have a zombie card to tribute, then you're kind of SOL. But the way to get around that is, the good thing it says to tribute a zombie type monster. So if they have a full field and you know that you can out it with Shiranui style Swallow, but you're not able to, let's just say, regularly summon because they'll just destroy your monster, you could set and pass with this card on the field, and you can tribute the face down cards, which is nice. Even if you had cards like, let's just say, Rivalry of the Warlord, and I have a dragon on the field, I can set my zombies and still use the Shiranui style Swallow. So that's just the aspect I think that I like, that it doesn't tribute face up cards, it tributes the face down. And sometimes they don't even expect it. If you have nothing in your hand and you set a zombie and the Shiranui style Swallow and you pass, you can destroy 3 cards without them even knowing, and may even cause the duel to end. This is kind of the great card in the deck. Run 3 of it if you're going to play Shiranui. There's a lot of cards in the extra deck that you contribute that aren't just synchro cards. Rivalry of the Warlord really works good with the Zombie World. I know I'm talking fast because I really want to give all the information on the deck. I think some of it's self-explanatory, but ultimately, if you don't know, then you're kind of hearing it now. What's the strategy that I'm looking for and the reason that I added each individual card, because it is important. Zombie World works good with Rivalry of the Warlord. If they summon out a monster and they become a zombie, activate this. They can't bring out anything else from the extra deck, from the deck. Half the time they just surrender or they just set and pass, and they pray that you don't have anything else in your hand. You're playing mostly zombie anyways. It does eliminate some of your engine, but as long as you got zombie cards, which is 90% of this deck, you guys are going to be good to go. We talked about the Super Poly cards. These are also great cards to use as the synchro cards. So, I mean, it's just really up to how you want to do it. It gives you an extra draw. Shiranui Samurai Saga is great to be one of the cards that you tribute. It's so easy to get a level 6 synchro on the field. It does have an additional effect where you can target some of your banished zombie monsters and shuffle them into the deck. But, I mean, you're not really using it for that. Using it more so for cards like Samurai Shogun as one of the banished cards that he uses. That way you can use it as additional effect. I mean, but really his effects on the field and banish aren't that great. But he is an easy level 6 synchro, so you can use cards like Ghost Meets Girl. Immortal Dragon's probably one of the most important cards for 2 reasons. Number 1, it doesn't require zombie tuners, which is why we play the 2 Assault Synchrons, okay? If you play the 2 Assault Synchrons and you get out Shiranui Solitaire or Spirit, Mizuki, any level 4 practically, you're going to get the Immortal Dragon. I really like if you get Gazuki and the Assault Synchron, because then you get Zombie World, then you get Immortal Dragon, and you can get Chang-Chi with the Glow Up Bloom. I mean, it's just a lot of different routes you can go, but ultimately there's just one good one. But yeah, Immortal Dragon, great. The other good thing that it does is if the zombie monster is destroyed on the field by battle, you can special summon it. So if they have the Tenpai decks, you get an extra body on the field, which is amazing. But when it is destroyed again, it is banished. Doesn't have a banish effect, unfortunately, but you do have cards that bring cards back from the banish pile, and we'll get into those in a minute. Another great engine of the deck is the Ancient Fairy Dragon. We do need to take a card out here. I'm thinking that I'm going to take out Baron. I'm going to just take out Baron. I know it's probably not the greatest idea. I know I need him down the road, but for now, just for this particular thing, I'm just going to take him out because he's not a zombie. I really didn't want to run him because I feel like it's just a generic level 10 that's just amazing. I really want him to be banned because I feel like he's such a crutch for these non-meta decks or these rogue decks, right? I don't want to feel like this deck needs him to be effective. There's a lot of other great level 10s, okay? But anyways, back to Ancient Fairy Dragon. Great card. It gives you an extra special summon from your hand. Does take you out of your battle phase, but if you're doing it on turn 1, you're not going to have one anyways. And I like that it doesn't lock you out of your battle phase for the very next turn, like cards like Runic. Or cards like Palace of the Elemental or something like that. So in that aspect, it just stops you from the battle phase that turn. The other great thing is it gets you Zombie World. So if you do the combo where you get Dragon's Ravine and then you Zombie World it up, I mean, you're good to go. You got Zombie World on the field, and then you can kind of play to the aspect of what your cards are versus what they have, or hand traps to the whole 9, okay? Shiranui Squire Saga, I feel like this is such an underrated card. I do not know why it's normal. I would love this card, super rare. I think that it has great aspects to it, that you can destroy a monster, you can destroy a spell, it raises your attack up, and the great thing is it does what the Shiranuis do best. It gets cards banished so that you can activate their effects. So this is such an amazing card. You can even banish itself if you're really just looking to eliminate cards on the field. But I like to keep it on the field. It's a level 7, so if you can get like an Una Zombie out, you can get a couple different like level 10s out and stuff like that. I think this is an amazing card. It doesn't get enough credit in the deck. This is probably one of the coolest looking cards. Shiranui Shogun Saga. It's great because it banishes a card. I think the extra effect, I don't use it that often, but if this card on the field is destroyed by battle or card effect and sent to the graveyard, you could target one of your banished monsters with 0 defense and return it to the graveyard. So I don't really run into using that effect that often. just because usually it's going to be destroyed on your opponent's turn, or you're going to synchro it off for maybe the level 10 or link it off for something a little bit better. I think it's an amazing card for combo aspects and killing potential. But other than that, I don't think it really has too much utility. It is a really, really cool looking card. I definitely love it in the deck, which is one of the reasons that I even play the deck is for the artwork. Yoko, the Graceful Mayakashi, one of three Mayakashi cards that I play. I really like the Mayakashi stuff, but I don't like that it locks you into Mayakashi cards. So I wanted to play some of the regular cards in the deck to especially go with cards like the Mayakashi Return instead of just bringing this particular card to the hand. But any of the magic and trap cards either just relate just to Mayakashi or they're just not worth putting in the deck. And any monster that you use all lock you into Mayakashis with the exception of these three cards. So this one's great because if it's let's just say special summon from the graveyard, you get to destroy a monster. It works good with cards that bring it back from the graveyard. Cards like the Yoki, Ona, the Icicle Mayakashi. I think that's really all like I use it for. I mean, I like that it's a zombie fire. It's one of the cards you can use to use for this effect, which is why I keep it in the deck, especially if you don't have any other way of getting like a level 7 or a level 8 or 10 and you're only locked into like a level 9. It's just kind of like a last resort. I think it's a really cool looking card, but that's really the only benefit that I see from the card. Maybe down the road it'll be another card I can put in there to kind of take over for it, but right now I think it's a good card to keep in the deck. Shiranui Sun Saga, really badass card. A fire freaking horse. I mean, this card is just oozing with awesomeness. I think the effect is good. It can't. You can return any zombie synchros from the banish or the graveyard into the extra deck. I will tell you that you need to be careful because if you count wrong to what they have on the field versus what you put away, you have to destroy cards up to all that you banish or nothing at all. So if there's nothing on the field and you do 3 cards and you don't get the additional destroy effect. But if there's 3 cards in the field, including himself, then he'll destroy himself. So things to keep in mind, only banish what you need to banish to destroy what he has on the field. It's the only reason I use this card. I haven't run into too many times where its other effect kind of took play. Like for instance, if this card would be destroyed by a battle or card effect, you can banish one Shiranui monster or whatever. Very rarely do I run into the aspect that I get to use this effect because half the time it's either I'm just completely dominating this guy or he finds another way to banish it rather than to destroy it. It's a different Yu-Gi-Oh nowadays. Red Eye Zombie Dragon Lord works really good with cards like Vampire Sucker. Works really good with cards like Doom King Baldarok. What you can do ultimately is if you get, let's just say, Vampire Sucker and Red Eyes, and then you have the Doom King in the graveyard, and you have Zombie World on the field. When the Doom King activates its effect to get to the field, you can ultimately stop them from called by the graving the card by playing this card's effect. The other thing too is if this guy's on the field and you have this, you can activate his effect at any point, and it does proc the Doom King Baldarok's banish effect or negate effect if you do not have Zombie World on the field to banish out their zombie monsters. It's just another way to banish a card. Vampire Sucker has a lot of utility because if you have 2 tuners or you just don't have the ability to synchro, you can always use 2 zombies just to link her out. She can definitely link climb up to something better. You can use her effect, I guess, to tribute their monsters if you use her effect to bring a zombie back or a monster back and turn it into a zombie from their graveyard to bring out cards like Chang-Chi. This is a very niche effect. I don't run into it too often, but you can use it. Also, again, if you have Zombie World on the field, then you can just tribute regardless their monsters for cards, but you're not running too many tribute summon monsters. I would say really only 2 that you'd even want to summon. But it can do some stuff, okay? I do like that it gives you the +1 draw if you're able to bring a card out from the graveyard even if your opponent does, or you can bring one of your opponent's cards back out from the graveyard. The other aspect that I like about this card too is if you bring another card out from their graveyard and you have Zombie World on the field and you activate Rivalry of the Warlord and you don't destroy it, then they have to spend their battle phase either destroying that monster to get it off the field or just surrendering. So it has some good utility. One of the toughest cards, and it took me a while to add this to the deck, is the Skill Saga Supremacy. It definitely sounds like an amazing card on paper, but it doesn't do that much stuff. I just really put it in for the aspect of the Shiranui Skill Saga. It's a level 3, but if I'm really looking at level 3s, this one just seems a little bit better to me. But it does allow you to bring a banished synchro monster back from the banish pile to a card to an area this card points at. Its arrows are left, down, and up, so you're really just looking at the left or the down. Um, I I mean, it's an okay card. I do like its passive effects that it can't be destroyed by card effects. Synchro cards can't, and also fire monsters can't be destroyed by battle. Half the time it really doesn't matter in this day and age of Yu-Gi-Oh! Because half the time you're fighting Yubel and they want to keep your monster on the field just to punch into you so you take damage. So it does have its utility. It does work with this card. You can definitely use this card to send this off, or the card that you bring back of the banished synchros. I wish it allowed you to bring back monsters from the graveyard, like the synchro monsters in the graveyard, rather than banished, because it's so tough to get those cards banished and get this card out so that you can activate its effect. Yukiona, definitely an amazing card. I love the aspect that it allows you to banish this card from the graveyard and special summon one of your synchro monsters that's banished or in your graveyard, which is what this card should do. Which is great for bringing cards like this back to the field to get an extra monster pop. Or you could even bring back things like any Shiranui Saga card so that you can activate this effect. So really cool stuff. The other good thing about this card too is if you banish it, you can get this card back in the graveyard, activate its effect. I believe you can only do it once per turn. You only use the following effect. Yeah, so but it does have great utility. And then also you have to play the Yukiona, the Absolute Zero. This card is just, look at this artwork. This is just amazing to me. The story behind this, how she has this sword too, is just really cool as well. But pretty much, if a monster special summons from the graveyard, which you're doing half the time, you can pretty much take a target, any target that you choose on the field, to 0 attack, and it negates its effects, and it's constant. I guess it's twice per turn. I'm sorry, I thought it was more than twice, but you can activate it twice per turn. It's probably all you're going to need to activate it is twice per turn. But it is a very fun card. I do also like that these are water cards. I had some guy that I was battling the other day that he had the water temple crap on the card, and I was able to bring these cards out. So very cool stuff. But that's pretty much the deck. You guys can use it. I highly recommend it. It's such a fun deck. I will tell you that there is really no like set combo that I can give you, because the deck really just has so much versatility and no duel is ever the same. But the cards that you'd want in your hand to start with is definitely the Shiranui Solitaire. But you always need some sort of extra follow-up in your hand. I could show you a fun duel that I did. But I'd rather you guys just go out there and just try it yourself. And if you have any questions about it, definitely get back to me. I have a couple other decks that I kind of want to go through. But this is really just the star deck that I really enjoyed, and I've played. I got into Plat 1 with it, and yeah, give it a shot. Leave in the comments what you guys think. Did I miss anything? Is there anything that you would particularly add? Oh, you know what? Hold on. Let me before I let you guys go, one more thing I want to go over. So these aren't the only cards that are necessarily things that I thought of to put in the deck. Definitely more hand traps were something that I thought of, but let's look at the spells real quick. I initially had it at like 50, 60 cards because I wanted to play the grass looks greener, but I didn't want it to be so zombie world where it's just like this regular schmegular deck. I did have 1-for-1 in the deck at some point with Link Karibo. It's not that great. Does get you to discard a card, but if you already have Link Reb or I'm sorry, Glow Up Bloom in your hand, then this card is dead. Or if you've already played it and used it and it's banished or something, then again this card is just a dead card. So you could definitely play more. Let's just say board breakers like Forbidden Droplet. I guess I could play this in the deck. I would rather play it as a 3 of than a 1 of, but it's a great card to have. I just feel like when you're throwing discarding everything, it doesn't activate the effects like that, so it's kind of like, oh man, you stop their field, but unless you have like that great combo or that's something to start your turn, and they don't have any hand traps, then you're kind of SOL. So I feel like this is just a solid deck is the way it is. It definitely falls short when it goes second because if they get a full field, you're just kind of screwed. But if you go first with your deck, you're having a lot of fun as long as you can get around some of their negations. And if they don't have any negations, you have full combo. They might as well just surrender because they're not going to be able to play next turn unless they're playing something crazy, crazy, crazy. Or they tempai you and just pretty much remove every aspect of your field and everything. So that would be the only thing that'll stop you. Other than that, you guys have a great one. God bless. And if you guys want to leave any comments, concerns, questions for me, definitely do that. And I would be more than happy to answer anything you guys got. You guys have a great rest of your day.